Hi, everybody. I'm Dr. Alisa Gardenhire. I own Touch IQ, where we teach people how to get high from touch, how to get smart about touch, and how to regulate through relational touch. I am here with Raven O'Rourke, who is a new friend and colleague, who is also a therapist. She's going to introduce herself and her practice and what she's up to. And we're going to talk about how talk therapy and touch work, body work, somatic work fit together.
We sure do.
And she was so generous to agree to come to be on the show with us today. And so, Raven, can you introduce yourself, what you're up to, what you're interested in, who you work with, all that stuff? That'd be great.
Thanks for having me. I'm an AASECT Certified Sex Therapist. I live in Nashville. I'm licensed in Tennessee and Florida. I do all telehealth sex therapy, so I see people from all over the state. Mm-hmm. I work mostly with queer high achievers, certainly some relationships, polycules, couples, but the kind of commonality is that everyone's a high achieving professional, very neurotypical a lot of the time. I am doing a rebrand right now, so I'm in the midst of all of that, thinking about all the paths business can take in the future, being creative, seeing what paths are the right way to go.
We have a certified sex therapist with us for our first episode, which is incredible. What an honor and what a treat to have her here for that. When I think about, I've never been to a sex therapist. What kinds of things are people coming to you for?
Sure. So I'm a therapist first and foremost. So mental health in general, but then with a sexuality specific lens. So I live in the Bible Belt. There, even people who were not in particularly conservative religious upbringings still got the purity culture vibe from public schools at that time. And so I work with a lot of people with desire discrepancy, particularly people who feel a lot of shame around sex and sexuality, who feel a lot of shame, particularly that nothing magical happened when they got married, where they were able to, boom, just jump into bed and be sexual. So a lot of work around that, a lot of reducing shame around kinks and whatever interests someone has. I work a lot with men with erectile issues that are not explained by medical causes. Some gender identity things. I've had a lot of experience with couples where one partner is transitioning their gender and they want to stay in the relationship. And so figuring out what it means to be in a relationship like that. Yeah.
Those are big. Yeah. So coming from my perspective as a person who believes and works with the body and understands that a lot of truths are in the body, but I don't necessarily have the specific training you have around sexuality, although I wrote a little book about sex and I've coached people about it. I'm very curious to think about how a triadic model could work. And I don't know if you use it much now, and it may not be something that's so available to folks in your area or where you're licensed to work, but have you ever thought about having your clients work with somebody who does touch work?
Yeah, I have been trained in it and, all the way from surrogate partner therapy to more platonic touch, like what you're talking about. A lot of times there is a dynamic in a couple relationship, even if there hasn't been a breach of trust or a breach of consent that has happened recently, but that it's just a lot harder to get the buy-in from the person that they're in a relationship with. So I can see that there would be this benefit of having a professional that I know that they're going to follow all of the things. Whereas when I'm working with a couple, I can't always get the buy. I can't always be 100% sure you're bought in or that you're going to follow, a lot of times I will say like, I really don't want you to do that. And that doesn't always.
No guarantee. Exactly.
Whereas there is a guarantee with a professional, touch professional. I had a session with someone the other day and she said, I don't know what good touch is, which is just like, like, and so this service that you have is so important.
It's interesting. You said that about a person who doesn't know what good touch is. I know that clients that I've worked with have said, married women in particular have said, I don't even know what I want. Like, I don't even know how to articulate what I want. I can't formulate it, but I know what I'm getting is not it.
Mhm.
Or it's based on what he wants and what he needs, quote unquote, needs is a funny word of sex. But anyway, and they say, but I want to.
Mhm.
Like, I want to understand this. I want to know it better. I remember one said to me, I don't want my husband to know my body better than I do. But I feel like he does, because she's never had time or pacing or whatever to like understand what she likes, either working by herself with her own body or having enough give and take with a partner at a pace that would let her get access to, well, what do I actually like or what do I actually want? And then
Mhm.
sometimes pressure from their partners and these, like, at least in these heteronormative frameworks where it's like, well, just tell me what you want. And there's like,
Right.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm often saying like it's normal to not want to do something that's not desirable or even is painful. Like it's
Right.
normal. Of
Yeah.
course, you don't want to do this. This sounds terrible.
Right.
And so much of it is because the only sex education that people are getting is pornography, which no shame on pornography, but they're not sex educators. They're
No, they are
entertainers.
not. They are entertainers. This is not real life. They may not do that at home.
There's a lot of normalizing, like men will sometimes tell me in their individual session, gosh, it just takes so long for her to get warmed up. And I'll say, well, like how long? And they're like 20 minutes. Like that's
Whoa.
like not that long.
No.
Yeah. So like really educating, because what they've seen, the only sex that they've ever seen.
Yeah, it's porn.
Yeah.
I think in my book, I say that like porn is not a source of education for you around sexuality. Like actually being present with your partner and being open to, like, one of the chapters is like, let your body, for this is a workbook for men. So let your body be her playground. Like let her just see and let her direct you. And like, I think the thing that I find with men sometimes is they don't understand the benefit of doing that. Like if she's on that same level, like women's sexuality, once it's like unleashed and sort of free, is probably going to outpace him. It's
Yeah.
probably going to be bigger than his. And like, what an incredible space to play in if you allow yourself to get to that space. But there's a lot of speed on the male end that sort of can rush women out of that or not give them a chance to get their footing with that.
Yeah. And a lot of confidence that's built on like masculinity as sex looks in this very specific way.
Yeah.
Where the vulnerability and the emotional attachment and those kinds of things are scary.
Yeah.
Those are scary to get involved, to bring online. And so really slowing down and being intimate and being and even risking, I don't know what I want, but like let's figure out some things that I don't want, right? Like I'm often telling people like there is kind of a limit at some point of like what can be possible. And so like let's just rule some stuff out, like multiple choice testing. Like
just like, as a scientist, like my brain is like, well, let's see. Let's find out. And what's the risk in that? But I think a lot of people do hold a lot of risk, or it feels risky to like even ask sometimes. I think for masculines in particular, getting into a space where they have to like be learning or asking as opposed to knowing, which is projected on them from a very early age, can be challenging.
Yeah, and I think also there is often a dynamic where touch only happens in the context of sex and sexuality.
Absolutely.
And so if you are only being touched every 3 months, there's a whole lot of pressure on that situation. Whereas if you're having, Barry McCarthy is this sex therapist, he's hilarious, but he has this good enough sex model, right? And so I tell people this all the time. I'm like, I have, 30, 40-year-old couples coming in. I'm like, you signed up for till you're 90.
Yes.
And like every sexual encounter you have until you're 90 is not going to be out of the park. Like bodies are bodies. Something's going to go wrong. You may get an injury. Like nobody knows. But like being open to the possibility that this is going to go badly potentially.
Right.
Not badly in a traumatic way, but like somebody's going to fart or laugh or it's a bad day or whatever. And if it happens so infrequently, not sex specifically, but if touch is happening so infrequently, there's so much pressure on that.
I know that consistently the women I'm talking to, and I hate to just be in this heteronormative framework, but that's who I have acted as clients thus far. But they say the only time I brace around my partner, because the only time he touches me is when he wants sex, and I want other touch. Like I want other forms of affection. I want the thing that I'm promoting now in my new program called Slow Down Sex is like make out more, bang less. Like just like get into there and just like be with each other's bodies, be with each other, even more than just your bodies, but be with each other for the sake of being with each other as opposed to a destination, which is where most touch in our society sort of for adults is like, oh, and because it's so sexualized, it tends to be directional toward intercourse, which cuts off so much other stuff that can be incredible and fun and playful and stuff.
Yeah. I just think about that like in the context, and it happens in queer relationships too. There's often a responsive desire partner who feels like, well, if I consent to this hug, I am consenting to intercourse. And it's like, whoa, like, of course you don't want to hug then, because that's a big jump to make. Have the dishwasher to unload or whatever, all the things that are going on in life. And so a lot of education around like, I'm going to show up. Ian Kerner does this like willingness window, right? So on Saturdays at 10, I'm going to show up for you. Like I'll have my legs shaved. I'll, have taken care of whatever makes me feel sexual. And we can kiss, we can talk. I'm not committing to sex. I'm just committing to being there with you.
Okay.
And so that's a helpful reframe rather than like scheduled sex, because people are like, well, what if I'm not in the mood then? And it's like, yeah, you might not be, but like that you're showing up for each other matters.
I think that's huge. Like I'm not familiar with that. And I'd love knowing that now because, I'm not a therapist, so I'm not telling people to schedule sex, but I know that some therapists do tell their clients to schedule sex. And even that, when I hear about that from the folks I work with, I can remember one woman recently, she said, it's working out great for him, but it's not so great for me because, 11 a.m. on Saturday means I need to lay down. And it's like, I don't know what I feel like at 11 a.m. every Saturday,
Right.
And
That's right.
I've been lucky to have very good lovers, generally speaking, over the course of my life. Occasional dud, but most of them have been fine or great, incredible, transformative, life-changing, etc. Lucky. But not everybody has that. And so sometimes I think about this too, where there's some demand from one partner for more sex. And I'm like, but it's not the volume, but like, what's the quality? Like, what are we getting at here? Like, is everybody getting pleasure from this? And are we checking in about that? I don't know if you encounter anything like that as well. Quality versus quantity.
Yeah, I will hear a lot, especially from people who have been raised in kind of a purity culture. Well, I give him sex 4 times a week. I don't know what else he wants from me. Like he can get off by himself. Like you are not a vehicle for semen. Like that's not what you are. Right.
Yeah.
I think what he's not able to say, and what I often have to articulate for him, is like he wants to feel desired. And the only way he knows to ask for that is sex. And so being more creative about like, maybe you kiss goodbye with a little slip of a tongue occasionally, it's just like a, hey, I want you, or grab your butt when you walk by.
Right.
But that doesn't have to lead to sex. And so just really cultivating this desire, this eroticism, which is what people are actually seeking, I think, because if you just want to have an orgasm, you can do that by yourself.
Those are gettable. You can get those.
Totally available.
Oh, I love that. So helpful to think about framing in that way. How do you, in general, if you had a sex therapist magic wand, like what would you wave over people? Like what would you want people to have? Like
I think there's just a responsibility that we take for our partner's sexuality that is not our responsibility to take. Something that it's like revolutionary. I don't know why, but I will be like, you are not responsible for his erection. Like every single time he has an erection, you're not responsible to do something with it. It happens several times a day. It happens through the night. Like this has been happening his whole life.
Yeah.
This is not your job.
So
I
like
love that.
sometimes with the willingness window, it's like, well, what if we make out and he gets an erection? Well, then he gets an erection. He got an erection last night at dinner and you didn't know anything about it. So,
Right.
and similarly of like,
Huh.
sometimes men will be intimidated by bringing a vibrator in. And it's just like, look,
Mhm.
LeBron is on your team. Just pass the ball to LeBron. Like you're
Right.
there, you're
Right.
participating. This isn't,
Right.
you know, you're not responsible as your body for her to have an orgasm. If you have LeBron, pass the ball to LeBron.
She'll be so pleased.
Yeah,
We're just
yeah,
having LeBron in the game with
So
us.
like you're not responsible for your partner's sexual pleasure. Like they're
Mhm.
responsible for telling you
Right.
this is working for me, this isn't working for me. So you're
Mhm.
responsible for listening. Absolutely. Like
Yeah.
nothing about you should read their mind.
I love that. I'm so glad we're having it because it's not necessarily making me think of my work one-on-one with clients to provide them with grounding and helping them with certain aspects of the therapeutic process that they're in. But it very much makes me think of the couples work that I do, where I'm usually coaching and supporting and providing couples with guidance around touch and around how they can touch each other and around creating space for that, and even architecting spaces in their homes for where that can just be touch space for them. And they know they go there for that. Certain clients I've worked with who have created cuddle zones that are just for cuddling.
Mhm.
And they know they go there for cuddling and it's not going to turn into sex. So then they don't have to have like the bigger conversation about like what's the agreement and what are we doing, because they've made the agreement and they place that agreement into the space. Like what
Mhm.
does that mean? Like how can you be erotic but I guess non-sexual, meaning not leading to intercourse, sexual, but like being in that space. So I feel excited to be talking about this stuff because I think more people are hungry for this and they don't have language or agency or something or cross-purpose communication or something that keeps them from being able to figure it out on their own somehow.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I always ask, like, what did you learn about sex and what did you see about sex and sexuality at home?
Mm.
And people some will tell me, and I frankly, my parents got divorced, thankfully, but like I remember them kissing on the mouth one time, and I was wildly uncomfortable with it.
Were you?
Because they like kissed each other,
Uh-huh.
and just thinking about now being like, oh, well, like there was a problem in that marriage, and I knew about it at
Yeah.
6, 7 years old. And so being able to talk to people about like what kind of dynamic did you see your parents having? And it was like, obviously they had sex because there were children later, but like it all happened behind closed doors. I never saw them be romantic.
Yes.
And so what does that mean when we're not talking about sex and sexuality broadly? Like parents are just like dropping books, like leaving books around and just like, if you have questions, come and ask, it's kind of, like figure it out.
But there's no context. I mean, I read a lot of erotica as a kid, like,
Yeah,
because it was around, because I was curious about it. But I didn't really connect it to myself. I'm like, oh, this is interesting. Like, I like these ideas. But I didn't say, oh, and then when I'm older, I'm going to do X, Y, Z. I didn't, those two things did not connect in my brain.
If nobody is talking, if you're not seeing it modeled, which I'm not suggesting that parents have sex in front of their children, obviously. I'm just suggesting that you like touch.
Like not.
You snuggle.
Yeah,
like kiss each other. Maybe even see them slip a tongue in the morning. Like that. This relationship is the foundation of your family.
Right.
And so let your children see that. Because you have a big contest out there with porn and regular.
It's so funny how still puritanical our culture is, but like so oversexed as well at the same time. And there's not a good bridge between the two. Still, as smart and as free, quote unquote, and etc. that we are, to have it be still so closeted or hidden or something. And exactly what you're pointing to makes me think that that's correct, because you're not seeing, most people don't see that modeled in their primary folks, the primary adults in their lives. I cannot remember my parents ever kissing, and they split when I was like 5 or 6. So maybe they did when I was 3 and I just didn't notice, but I don't remember seeing that at all. And my dad was remarried twice. I don't remember seeing that. I don't remember it that much. It seems critically important for the development of healthy ideas of what this should be. Like, you don't need to see the whole thing, but they like each other.
Yeah,
They're physically interested in each other. Because I think kids see fights way more.
totally.
Yeah.
I think that, and that's the pathway, is like they see love as the foundation that is going to create a feeling of safety. They're like,
Mhm.
all right, they love each other, even if
Mhm.
they disagree about stuff sometimes. It's respectful disagreement, hopefully.
Mhm. Yeah.
Everything's okay.
I think that's huge. Whoever's watching this, you're getting a huge gift right now. I just want you to know. That's what you're getting.
Kiss in front of your children.
Right, exactly. Do that. Like I said, make out more bangles.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that playfulness, I think it seems to be missing from most people's interactions and relationships, which is a shame.
Yeah.
It really truly is. And there's so much room for it. I think of a current client right now, and she's just had some recent small surgery and she's in pain. It's like a foot or something, but it's very painful. And I spoke to her yesterday and she said, yeah, it hurt so much. And I called my husband and was crying and he held me. But she had told me a couple weeks before that she had had a 10-minute hug or something from a friend that just was a hug. And she said, I crave this. And I started asking him for that. And he only has so much tolerance for it. Like he can't really do that for her. And I'm
Yeah.
and I know she's not alone.
No.
I have like a small cohort of men that I've been dealing with personally recently. And how every single one of them, I guess, feels safe enough with me to drop some of their performative norms, but how apologetic they are in that. Like they're like, I know it's not manly, or I know blah 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 blah. And I'm just like, what are you talking about? Can you just be like a human being? That would be so incredible if you just did that. So
Yeah.
there's like a lot of pressure from that, or on the male side too, about performance and living up to standards of manhood and stuff like that. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's complicated, but I think the feminist movement has done so much for girls. And like,
Yeah.
I got the message as a child, like
Yeah.
I can be anything I wanted to be. And obviously that wasn't true. And there's all sorts of problems, but I don't think we did the same with boys.
Mhm.
We still have this, there's research that boys are touched, they're held less often. Like there are all of these statistics about how young boys are treated. And like, boys and girls are like not that different at 2, 3, 4, 5 years old.
Right.
They're the same.
Right. And both are humans. So,
Are human beings.
Yes.
And so I just think about how we really need to work with, well, we've done so much for women. Yes. Now let's bring the boys up, like bring the boys online, which means that moms and dads, and we have to be comfortable with men having feelings
I know.
that are not anger or happiness. Like we have to get comfortable with that
Mhm.
and not see masculinity through the lens of aggression.
I used to tell a joke. It wasn't funny, but it was funny to me. I said men have two emotions, anger and sports. Like they got like two things they're allowed to like feel and have emotions in. And sadly, that's almost true. And like I know adult men now who I'm talking to who literally just unpacked in their late 40s, early 50s. Oh, I can hug another man, or I can do this or that thing that felt taboo or like an attack on my manhood. If I did this normal human thing, like just cuddle or just whatever, and not just try and like nail as many people as I can,
Yeah.
And I'm like, yikes. But not abnormal. That's like, they're more normal probably than anything in terms of a template of what men get to experience largely.
How sad that is. And just the state of male friendship. And I think what we're seeing with the manosphere is this like explosion of what has happened, that men are not allowed to have these vulnerable relationships.
Mm-hmm.
I go with my book club friends. We've been friends for like 15 years and we are like all over each other, like all weekend. Like we're like walking by, petting hair. We're like have hands on each other. We got our legs all crossed. And like, I've never been on a boys' weekend personally, but I just know that that's not what's happening.
It's probably not. Or if it is, it's something completely.
It's not platonic touch.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's a huge gap. Like I agree. Like it's sad. And it's very difficult, I think, as a woman who's enlightened or whatever, to know, to be able to see that with men, but then also contend with the patriarchy, which is like they get all these benefits from behaving that way, quote unquote.
Right.
And so it's like, why should we help you anymore? Like, what the hell? Like, we're gonna still do this work for you. You're still not gonna do any of the stuff. But it's like, but who are we gonna be with? I think about women younger than me, like in their 20s and 30s. I'm like, well, who are you gonna be with? And so a lot of women are like, I'll just be by myself. And it's like, well, that's not.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the whole relating structure that we live in needs blowing up, and we need to probably start over. I don't know if that's going to happen, but like one person for life, maybe, but not for everybody, probably.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I think Esther Perel says it well, is that like you're married to 5 people. And if you're lucky, that's the same person,
Right.
who has redefined themselves over the course of life.
Yeah,
But we are really doing a disservice to men, and how I will often have in couples therapy that a man will have this huge break that's like beautiful and emotional, and I can see she's uncomfortable. Like there was like a cartoon or something that I saw that was like men started expressing their feelings, women everywhere express regret, like
I think there's some sort of hopefully generational growth around there that younger folks can be integrating this. I have a 20-year-old son myself. I think I was intentional about raising him. I mean, he's like a football player, he's an athlete, he's a man, but he also is allowed to like feelings, and he got hugs his whole life, and we say I love him when he's able to do those kinds of things. And I've seen him in relationship with women, young women, from the outside. I'm not in the inside of the relationship, but from the outside that seem reasonable in terms of how he's managing that with them. And his friends he has a lot of girlfriends in addition to his teammates. So maybe younger generation may be having a little bit more access to sort of a spectrum of expression, but I think not completely, and not for everybody, for sure not.
It's also a lot more normalized. I mean, I see among my friends who are parents that the dad's involved. And so I don't think, I am 39 for the first time, that dads were like, they weren't like totally absent, but I don't think like the way that I see these dads show up when the kid's like, hey, I have a, hurt on my penis. They're not like, well, go, your mom will handle that. It's like, all right, well, let's go to the bathroom and figure out what the hell is happening to you.
I have to say, for myself, I'm super lucky to have a very hands-on father. Like, he was the first man to ever be in the delivery room.
Amazing.
In Kaiser Hospital in San Francisco. And I'm old, I'm 56. So in 1970, he was in the delivery room. It was a big deal. And they were like, no, he's like, I'm going in. They're like, wait a minute. And I lived with him in my teen years after my parents split. So I feel I was lucky to have that sort of higher standard of involvement, but I know that wasn't necessarily the norm for folks in terms of what dads do in the family. They're super important though. So, and moms also could use a break to share some of this work. It's a lot.
I think the division of labor, like people should do what they're best at. And so like, that's kind of how we manage things around here. And so that works for us. But like, if I have friends who the dad is like a real cook, like a real home chef. And so the mom doesn't do any of the cooking, and I think that's so good for kids to see, like, it isn't default the woman's job to do whatever.
Absolutely. Yeah. So hopefully that's normalizing, because the sort of division has been women entered the workforce but didn't lose any of their home responsibilities 40 years ago, 50 years ago. Yeah.
That's right.
Let's go, younger people. You got this. I have a little model.
There we go.
It'll be something folks can download off my website as well. It's a Touch IQ, my business Triadic model for collaborative care, right? So when we think about touch in a therapeutic setting, there's a therapist and client that have a relationship established. And then sometimes the therapist will think this person, given the things that they're contending with, could use some body-based, somatic, touch-based work. Now, we're lucky to have Raven here, who is actually trained in that and knows how to deliver that for herself I think you can't do it with the same client who you talk therapy with. How
Yeah,
does it-
I see people all virtually, so there's
Oh,
there's
right.
nothing like that. But when I have seen people in person,
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, there's no I mean, not in like a bizarre way. Like we shake
Right.
we shake hands. You
Like,
engage
no.
like you engage normally as you
Right.
do in the world.
Yeah.
No touch in the way that you are describing.
Yeah. So when we talk about it, the talk therapist really, it's talk therapy. So it's narrative, it's insight processing, it's that kind of thing. The client is looking for, relational or behavioral progress. And then the touch part is really somatic. And then what I call boundary experiencing, which is a lot of like determining like, what do you want? Can you express it? Can we practice that here? And doing that with our bodies is a way for us to have what I call embodied learning, because you can learn a lesson differently in your body than just cognitively. Like even in my group work, when we work on like feeling our yeses in our nos and our bodies and moving our bodies for yes and no, like those kinds of things can help people really land the learning of what they need to do differently than just sort of understanding or listening to a lecture or even talking to somebody about it. It's all important. All three go together. But in this model that I have, we're calling it from the talk therapist to the touch IQ folks, me and folks who I'm bringing on to work with me. It's really like a clinical referral for insights. And then we would provide feedback to you as a therapist about what's happening with us in a very short way. You don't have time to read full reports, but basically like we made some progress on this, we worked on that, we talked about XYZ.
Right.
I think in terms of for me, the somatic body worker, and then the client, we're really looking at co-regulation. That's something that's very powerful, that emotional mirroring, all those kinds of things. And then again, really working on a lot around boundaries, around being able to formulate requests around what's wanted. And because people who have some sense of interoception can see, like, I'd like to feel this or that. And then what I hope for in terms of what the client and the therapist experience is momentum. So something that you worked on may progress along, I can't say faster, but can be reinforced in certain ways for progress in terms of the clinical work that you're working on with them.
Yeah.
And then, so we've got 4 pillars in this model: somatic regulation, as I said, somatic agency. Raven and I met in a wheel consent training, which we may talk about some other time. Probably won't go into that today, but it was powerful, I think, for both of us in terms of understanding the relational aspects and understanding where agreements are present or absent and how that affects how people interact with each other.
Yep.
Receptive awareness. So like, what signals are your body giving you? Because some people are dissociated from their bodies too.
Absolutely.
And then the reason I like relational touch in particular, not just like I love a massage, I love getting a haircut or a pedicure, but like those tend to be like one-way touch, or somebody's doing something to you. But relational touch, where it's sort of a two-way street, builds confidence that people need for the real world, to be able to like go into the world and say, okay, there are other people here. They are actually present. Hopefully not. But you're not really thinking about, is my pedicurist comfortable while she's doing my feet or whatever.
Right.
But in this framework, as the professional, we also we tell our clients, I'm here wholeheartedly. And so anything that you request, I'm going to think about whether that's something that I can give you. And so that aspect of relational exchange, I think, is important for clients to start to hear and experience, like, oh, this other person is there too. And they can bring that into their world as well, in terms of making sure everybody is giving and receiving in the way that's best for each of them.
Yeah, it's really hard for people to hear no.
Yeah.
And so I think the benefit of working with you, yes, it's a relationship. Yes, it's going to be hard to hear no from you. It's going to be way less hard to hear no from you than it is for your partner of 20 years. The dynamic is there, the relationship is there, but there's not so much at stake.
I think that's one of the most difficult things that's missing from people in terms of their strength and their intelligence around touch, and in any other area of their life, really, is to understand that somebody else's no is valid, and it doesn't have to mean anything about you.
That's right.
Thank you for highlighting that, because I think that's one of the critical lessons that people get in this touch work with me, whether they're coming from a therapist or whether they're coming to me directly, is we practice a lot of that, where it's like your yes should be wholehearted. If it's not wholehearted, then let's just put that in the no category. Maybe still is no until it's yes, or maybe it never will be, and that's fine too. And the no that you give me or that I give you doesn't have to mean I'm rejecting you. I'm saying I don't have capacity for that right now in me. Full stop. It doesn't even have to do with you necessarily.
Yeah.
And those are things people can use, I think.
Yeah, but I think it happens a lot in dynamics where there are parents of kids, and kids are just like touching and like licking you, sticking you. They have so much, and a lot of times a parent will say like, "I'm just touched out," and the maybe not the primary caregiver is like, "Well, I feel rejected." It's like, this isn't about you. This is about like this person's ability to be touched anymore today.
That's
by
it.
this tiny human that you can't you
Right.
can set boundaries, obviously, but like it's a little
My kid used to always touch my face with his little dirty fingers. I was like, no.
so sticky. Why are they always so sticky, Alyssa?
I get a pimple. No, don't do it. I'm like, have you seen your fingernails, kid? Ew. Oh, yeah, I think that's interesting to think about how to help maybe the non-primary parent understand that level of touch. I think maybe giving them more access to their kid to be like, here you go.
Yeah.
I want to circle back to something you started with, which came up for me. So I wrote this book, How to Be Your Favorite Lover Ever, a while ago. And then I opened a tutoring center. And I said, these two things don't go together. So I put it on the shelf. But I'm back out, popped back out again. And I actually went to my first book fair a couple of weeks ago. And so people were buying the book and talking to me about it. And I was signing books and all that stuff. But the interesting thing for me, because I wasn't raised religious and I don't live although religion is everywhere, I don't live in the Bible Belt right now. But something that came up, and these were mostly Black women, so they tend to be very Christian and heavily religious. And they talked similarly about what you were talking about how little education they had about sexuality before, how much shame they were given before they began to be sexual, or that was their education, was don't do it, you'll be a nasty person, shame. And then once they were married or partnered, okay, now have babies, now have a great sex life, now whatever. And they're like, based on what? Like, how do I even get there? Can you talk about that?
Well, I think what happens a lot in a purity kind of dynamic is that you, as like a little, appropriately in your teenage years when you're kind of kissing or touching or doing sexual things, but that are not, and you kind of feel that heat, that fire to your genitals or to whatever your erogenous zones are.
Yeah.
And immediately shut that off.
Yeah.
Because this isn't allowed right now. And so, and then nothing magical happens when you get the ring on. Like nothing
suddenly.
And so you have reinforced this. Shut that down. Shut that down. That's bad. That's bad. There's also an orgasm. In French is le petit mort. Like it's a huge loss of control.
Absolutely.
And that can be really scary.
For sure.
So I think there are some genres of Christianity. That's what you can see that I'm like super religious too. Denominations of Christianity that are kind of going back to more contemplative, more body-based. I was raised Catholic. And so even like the ritual of doing this or rosary beads or rather than like having a heady relationship with God, where it's how do you feel in your spirit? How do you feel in your body? And I think that there are some denominations that are going back to that. And so I am somewhat hopeful for some of our people that are raised in religions. But, God gave you like the whole rest of your body too.
Right. It's not just I think for me that for at least in some cultures and some demographics in our country, lots of young people don't date. They don't pet. They don't make out. They don't whatever. They either are not doing anything and it's shut off to them, or they go directly to sex without that practice of the things that come before sex. So like young, like kids are having sex in like middle school and high school, or oral sex or whatever, and not doing the kissing stuff and not doing the getting excited and then coming back down from it, and not all the other things, which for me are developmental, but I'm not a therapist, so I don't know. But it feels
Yeah.
like those things are developmentally necessary, or helpful at least.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of like I tell parents a lot, I'm not a parent, so this is maybe wrong, but I say all the time, like, you're raising an adult. And so
Yeah.
like how can we set this, whatever this dynamic is, up as though it's an adult? Like, I don't get hit when I did something wrong as an adult. There are natural consequences when I do the wrong thing. And so like, how can you, as best you can, obviously it's not universally, but that is practicing being an adult when you're 13, 14, 15, and you're making out. You're kind of playing pretend, you're figuring out your body and those kinds of things.
Yeah.
And there's some safety around it, or there maybe used to be more safety around it, that you didn't have the whole of the internet and any person could connect you. You know, was there somebody at your school and maybe your parents kind of knew a little bit?
Right, exactly. I just sent a proposal off to some colleges locally to like talk to them about, touch intelligence or whatever, maybe have some programming. Because I think of like beginning of the college year or whatever, where they get all these orientations, but I don't know who's giving them orientations. And even like the sexual orientations tend to be about disease prevention or pregnancy prevention or something like that. It doesn't have to do with pleasure or like figuring out your body or like figuring out how to relate to people in a way that feels more aligned with what you want for yourself. So we'll see if any of those bite. But I found that I was like, somebody was talking to me about, well, who works in the college space? And she said, I've never seen anything like that. So I took a chance, set it off.
I think, plugging in where you can. Ideally, it would happen earlier, but politically, it's not available to us at this time.
I sent one to a youth program here that was fully rejected. So I was like, okay, maybe college.
Yeah.
So let's see. But yeah, it definitely does need to happen earlier, because kids are doing stuff and they have phones and they can see all kinds of stuff that nobody's explaining to them. And they're not.
Or even just like, this feels bad to me. And like having your parent or whoever the important adult is to be like, yeah, go with that.
Right.
Like,
let's trust that.
That matters.
Right.
And just to have an adult say, I think they're doing a good job around consent of like, no, grandpa, we haven't seen you in a year. They don't have to hug you.
Yeah. That's going along nicely.
Well, I think that is happening. Yeah. Cause I remember having like breast buds and like to fully embrace even somebody that I'd known my whole life felt like very odd.
Yeah. I remember I tell the story as I moved with my dad in middle 6th grade. So I changed schools. So the environment was very different. And I moved from the suburbs into the city. And I remember like doing double dutch with girls on my playground, right, at school, and then walking home and having men slow their cars down and honking. And like, I was like, what is this? What is happening? And not having any context for that, because in my brain, I'm doing jacks and hopscotch and whatever. Right. And these men, like, I hit puberty at 11, 12. So I've got some boobs and some stuff that's happening. Yeah. That was very disorienting. It was very disorienting.
I think, and you and I are both really tall. And so like we were tall, so it's, I mean, the men should have behaved differently, obviously, but I can't imagine they knew how young we were. They probably thought we were teenagers, which is still gross, but.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I know, it's still gross.
Yeah.
But yeah, like a 6th grader. I
did not know that we were in middle school.
But that shaped how I felt about myself. My body became an object in those kind of, where it wasn't before. It was just my own thing, but it became an object. And it's funny because I feel like I didn't really reclaim it until I went to my first cuddle party when I was 42 or 3, something like that, where it's not that I didn't feel ownership of my body, but I was very aware of it, of other people's awareness of it, I'll say, you know? And that cuddle party literally changed my brain chemistry, changed my life trajectory, all kinds of stuff that day that I went in went into some loft in the Upper East Side one way and left like different.
Yeah.
My brain was different. I probably was also high from oxytocin and serotonin from the cuddles.
Yeah.
But I left different, and it really changed that's why I'm sitting here today, largely.
Yeah.
It's
Like
amazing.
you're changing lives.
Well, I think that's a decent way
Yeah.
to start. We had
Yeah.
a great conversation. Thank you for this time.
Thank you.
Do you want more clients? Do you have a social media? Do you have
I have a website and socials. It's all between the Lakes Therapy.
Okay.
So
I'll put the
Awesome.
links in the description so you can talk to Raven more and get some more of this brilliance for yourself. And obviously my links will be in there as well if you want to work with me. And thank you for this.
thank
It's a treat.
you.
Pleasure to see you always. Thanks
Always.
for being here for the people too.